Thank you for joining. My name is John Stenhouse. I'm the Business Support Manager at the University of Essex University Enterprise Zone. This is a series of webinars called Investment Readiness, where we work with entrepreneurs to find and secure investment funding for their opportunities. All our opportunities are innovative, making good use of AI and artificial intelligence and virtual reality, creative digital, and market disruptive ideas. So today we have with us Bhumi Ladva from Delio, our platform sponsors, and Josh Clark, who is managing the tech for today. As I said, this is being recorded. It is live, so please forgive any mistakes we make. And let me introduce Bhumi. As I said, Bhumi Ladva is from Delio, our platform sponsor, and they are very graciously helping us develop the platform further. And more importantly, getting the message right so that entrepreneurs and investors can communicate effectively. So Bhumi, please, it's over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, John. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Firstly, I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Fabulous. So firstly, I just wanted to start off on actually getting access as an entrepreneur to the platform. The way that you can do this, and I'm sure Josh and John will follow up with details, is you'll actually have to email uez@essex.ac.uk. I'm not entirely sure on the email address, but John and Josh will post it later on here. But that will allow you to get in touch with the Essex team, and they will send across an invitation for you to sign up to the platform. As soon as you've received that invitation, the first thing you'll need to do is actually have a username and a password. Those will be needed in order for you to access the platform each time. And this is just an example, so I'm just going to quickly move this across here, and I'm going to log in into my account. Perfect. So the first time you log in, what you will see immediately is an add deal process. I'm just going to go into that in a moment, but firstly, I just wanted to show you what stage we want to get all the platforms on the deals that come from you as entrepreneurs in the best way. So I'm just going to quickly click on this little preview button here. Bear with me while my internet catches up. So whilst this is loading, one thing that I want to mention is everything that I'm going to go through today is almost showing kind of the best version in which you can showcase your deal on the platform. Not all of the tabs need to be used. However, we really do encourage all the different tabs that you can see here in order to best present your opportunity in front of investors. So you can see I've got a documentation tab, an images tab, video tab. There's a few communication tabs that we've enabled as well, a team tab, and a few extras as well. So this is kind of the ideal state we want to get to. So now I'm going to show you how to actually go through this process step by step. If you have any questions, then please do mention them on the Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. You can see my internet is quite slow today, so please bear with me whilst things load. So as mentioned, once you actually get sent your invitation and sign up, the first thing you will see is this add deal process. The add deal process allows you to provide your information to the University of Essex for approval in a very structured and clean way. The first stage here gives you a quick summary of the types of information you'll be required. You can preview a sample deal by clicking here. If I click here, it will show you exactly where that information will show, documentation, custom tabs, etc. So that's just a quick overview screen. Then we have breakdown of each steps. And within each step, you'll be asked different levels of information. So the summary just provides you with a bit of a head start on what sort of collateral you need to get together. I'm going to click on Start Creating a Deal here. And the first section that we'll get to is basic details. So to summarize this step, This will capture things that the investor will see immediately on when they actually come into the platform. So your deal name, your deal summary, your initial kind of minimum investment amount and funding sort, that investors are immediately kind of attracted to your deal and want to find out more information. So I'm just going to, if I'm looking this way, it's just because I'm copying some information across for ease. I'm going to start off by adding in my deal name. This is just an example deal. Deal summary, you'll see that you have indicative text at the bottom here. So if you go over the number of characters, this will turn red and you'll have to go back and change this. There's a deal overview section. Within the deal overview section, I'm just going to paste some text in. However, you do have a few other options of making a few formatting it. So I can make a few of the things bold, change colors. You can see here, I can even add links, add a few images, bullet points. So really, this is one of the things when an investor opens up a deal, they see under the summary section. Often we know that a lot of this information is presented in pitch decks and uploaded onto data rooms or sent to investors via emails. One of the reasons why this platform is initially capturing an overview is because we want to make it easy for the investors to actually click into the deal and get the key information in almost like immediately as soon as they open up the deal, rather than having to download documentation and so on. But don't worry, we do have a documentation section where you can upload more detailed versions of your overview and so on. One thing that I want to mention straight off the bat is there is actually a save progress step here. For security reasons, the platform may, after 30 minutes of inactivity, log you out. So we don't want you to lose any of your data. So what I would say is actually to save progress, and you'll see a little notification come up as well. Key contact, this information isn't actually presented to the investors. This information is captured so that University of Essex know who this deal belongs to, and they can contact you if need be, or if there is any other investor activity as well. I'm just going to leave that blank for now. We can set locations of the deals. I'm just going to go with London. And I can also kind of have the map shown on the deal, or I can kind of sort of, if there is any specific type of location that you would like to add, even if down to the street name, you can actually request that to University of Essex, and then the university can actually set that up and it will come up as an option in this section here. So once I've done this, it goes into the financials. Here you can see that I've got the option of choosing what asset class my deal is in. For ease, I'm just going to leave the ones that are here, but just so you know, if your deal is the asset class is any of the following here, the next stage will actually ask questions dependent on this. So for example, my equity, I'm going to have an equity direct deal. And when I progress on to the next step, you'll see that the information captured will be things like growth stage, sector type, valuation, etc. Whereas if I was to choose for example, a real estate, it will be focused more on, is it a value add property? Is it commercial? So just depending on what asset class you choose, the next step will ask you more information about that. The investment structure is also something that you can add here. You can either have a direct opportunity or you can have a fund as well. And so I just leave it as direct for now. I can choose which currency I want the deal to be in. So which currency do I want to receive the money in? And then this, you can see that next to a few of the fields, you'll see an asterisk. Without these key informations, you can't actually progress on to the next step. If mandatory information is missing, then a red symbol will appear, and I'll show you where that appears in a moment. And that information will need to be filled out before you can actually submit the deal to the University of Essex team. If it's not filled out, then you won't be able to submit it. There's also some non-mandatory information, and you'll see a yellow sign, and I'll show you that in a second as well. That is just optional information is missing. If you do want to provide it, we encourage you to, but you can still submit your deal, but the chances are that University of Essex will ask you to go back and fill that out anyway. So please fill out as much information as you can. Can everybody still hear me okay? Fabulous. So I'm just going to put out my total funding sort, and this is also visible to all investors, and I'm also going to fill in my minimum investment amount. John, did you want to mention kind of what your typical minimum investment amount is here?
Yes, because the vast majority of the opportunities we have on our platform are very early stage seed. We understand and we know that investors like to look at low values when they're starting to invest, and then increase the amounts as they go along. So we would always recommend a minimum of investment of no more than £20,000, and probably from about 5,000 upwards. And that enables the investor to actually start a conversation with you, because people can always invest more, but they can be put off if the initial investment is too high.
Perfect. So moving on from financials, we have an availability section. So this we encourage to kind of leave either as open, because I'm pretty sure that the Essex team kind of manage when deals are shown on the platform. But if you do have a hard stop date for fundraising, then you can add that to the availability to section here. And this just means that when it comes to that date that you've ended the deal, this deal will no longer show to investors. I'm going to leave my deal open, so I'm just going to clear the field, and this means that the deal's always going to be shown unless University of Essex want to kind of take it away or put it back on at any stage. Sorry about the ambulance. The next section is investor type. This, you can see, it's not a mandatory step. This will just allow you to kind of dictate to University of Essex who you want to show the deal to. But most of the time, this is controlled by University of Essex anyway. So feel free to fill that out, but this is an optional step. I'm going to go into the next stage now. Perfect. So can you see that I've got this green tick in basic details? If I had missed out any of the mandatory information, this would show up red. So I'm going to show you an example of this here right now. If I go on to save and continue, you can see that it's red. Whereas if I go and save and continue this stage, which is the images stage, don't worry, I'll be going back over this. You'll see that what information I need to go back to and enter, and what information I can continue to proceed with. So going back, because I was naughty and I missed out some key information. As I mentioned before, dependent on the asset class you choose in basic details, your next more information stage will require you to add some specific deal details. So for my equity direct deal, I've been asked for a growth stage, a sector, any tax relief associated with that. I'm just going to refresh my screen. If any valuation has been set, I can add in my previous valuation section and all that sort of stuff. So let me just go back onto more information and click here, and I get a drop down list of the options. So startup, it's in health and well-being. There is tax relief, it's BIS applicable, and previous valuation set was 500. These numbers are all made up, by the way, so don't take them too seriously. If there has been any previous funding secured, then you can add this information as well. Yeah. I'm going to save and continue and move to the next step. So you can see now that step has turned green, and I am now on the images stage. We advise that you actually do upload images to the platform. If you do not actually upload an image, a default image will be used, and you know, we encourage you to use them to differentiate your deals, but also in order for you to kind of not have a deal that looks exactly the same as another deal who haven't actually uploaded an image. And I'm sure University of Essex team will ask you to do this as well. So I'm just going to upload an image, bear with me. You can drag and drop it into here, or you can actually put it into, or go open up your folder and put it in as well. Then going on to the deal provider logo. This is something we also encourage you as entrepreneurs to put on, so the investors can actually see, you know, who is providing this opportunity through the Essex portal. So again, same concept, you can click on the upload and upload that here. If you want to add any sort of background, you can do so, but here you can actually play around with it a little bit. I'm just going to do that and save images, save image position. But if I wanted to change the background to something else or to the same color as this here, then I can do that too. I just require the hex code, which if you don't know what that is, it's just essentially the color code. And if you're struggling with that, then just ask or get in touch with the University of Essex team, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you. I'm just going to put it back to white. Then the next section within images is an image tab itself. So you might want to showcase an image gallery. Maybe it's your deal is all centered around a product and you want to show previous versions of the product. But essentially in the same way as we've been uploading images to the platform, you put those in here and you hit the upload button and that adds an image gallery. I'm going to skip this step because I'm going to add some more custom tabs instead. I'm going to save and continue, and we now move over to attachments. So with attachments, again, I want to just say that this information will be released to investors, but you do have a level of control over these. And by that, I mean, if you want investors to be able to see documentation immediately, such as pitch decks or one-pagers, teasers with a little bit more information than your overview, you will then upload them into the deal information section. So I'm going to click into here and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to upload this and I want this to immediately be seen by investors. I've just put up an example documentation, but it can be, like I mentioned before, your teaser, pitch deck, or something, anything immediate you want them to see. I'm also going to go back. If there are any NDAs, these will also be presented to the investor as they click into your deal. But the difference here is if I do upload an NDA, which I'll do now, is me as the entrepreneur, I can actually request them to electronically sign the NDA or wet ink signature it. And the way I do this is once I've uploaded the document, I click onto this little ellipses here, and it says here, request wet ink signature or request electronic signature. The investor will see this document in the platform. When they request for more information, they will actually be prompted to sign the NDA before you can approve them and allow them to see more documentation. So I'm going to go back. There's a few other folders on here. There's a confidential document and there's a completion document. These two documents can also have regular kind of investor documentations into them, but the only way an investor sees this information is if you as the entrepreneur have actually moved them to this step. That might not entirely make sense now. We will be going over investor interaction and how documentations are released to investors, how you can engage with investors in one of our next webinars. But for today, we're kind of just getting the whole how to maximize and utilize the actual showcasing of your deal. So those relate to those, like, terms, agreements with your investors, etc. Within the documentation section as well, you can actually create internal folders. So if I want to have any legals stored against the deal, any documentation I want to share with University of Essex, I can actually click into this, and this is my shared folder. I can upload that here, and this won't be shown to your investors, but it will be shared between yourselves and University of Essex. So it's always handy to have a folder like that too. I'm going to save and continue, and I get to the last stage. So this is the stage where you can go back, review. Obviously, as mentioned before, if there's any mandatory information, you will be asked to fill that out before you can submit the deal. But there's just a way in which you can just quickly see what information you have added at this point. I'm going to save and continue to dashboard, and this is a key step that I want to just quickly focus upon for 2 more minutes. Is clicking on this button will not submit the deal to University of Essex. This will essentially save your deal, and it will take you to the screen that I'm going to show you now. The reason why this is done this way is because we can now actually start to build out the deal even more, add in more documentation, and it's kind of like a step which is your initial data is captured. We then get the chance to build out that deal a little bit more. You might even be engaging with the University of Essex, and they might be even telling you, like, right in your pitch deck, we need you to provide X, Y, Z. So we kind of have like a stage in between where you can add even more information. And then in order, once you are happy with everything, and I will show you in a second, once I've added a few more custom steps, you then have to click on the push for approval button in order for University of Essex to review the full deal and all of its content, and then publish it to the investors. So yeah, just to clarify that point, the save and continue button off the add deal process does not submit the deal to University of Essex. You do have to click on the push for approval button here. Quick check-in, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine. And please elaborate on the extras that they can add, like adding investors.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. So what I want to do is firstly start off on bulking out the deal. So all the steps that I went through on the add deal process, you can see that they are here. So I've got my basic detail, images, etc. But there are a few new tabs, such as the tabs and charts, video, and team. I'm going to click on tabs and charts. The first thing I need to do is, sorry, my internet, is I will click on add a tab. This allows you to configure the deal information to the extent where even when you in your pitch decks, you might have a stage where it's showing financial forecasts or marketing material or growth stages, whatever it might be that you want the investor to be able to see immediately rather than download documentation. I can actually create specific tabs for that. So for this one, I'm going to create a financial forecast. I can either fill in that information as I did for a deal overview, or in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually upload an image with this information. So bear with me a second, and I will show you how that turns out. Sorry, I've just got it here. Once this uploads, I will actually show you how to add a video tab and also a team tab as well. I do apologize about my internet. It's quite bad today. Okay, my internet just doesn't want to work today. I will show another way of doing that as well. So if I go into here, just for example purposes, I'm just going to upload something else which isn't related to financial forecast. But when you do have the images saved, you can just upload them either by dragging and dropping them or by searching for them in the documentation. I'm going to save this tab. And if I want to add more, so if I want to add like a market industry study, a historic tab which actually explains like, the background of the company, I can do that too. So I'll name this background, and I can add all the information here. I can attach links, videos, etc. as well. So I'm going to save tab. If I want to see how this will look to the investor, at any point I can click on this preview button here and it will come up and you can see that my custom tabs have been added. So financial forecast, background, and all the key information we've already uploaded to the platform as well. The last two tabs that I want to go through is videos tab. There are two ways in which you can actually get your promotional video on the platform. One way is if you have the actual folder, the actual file downloaded on your computer, then I can add the video name, video description, and simply upload that. And once it's uploaded, you'll be able to preview and it will show up. I am actually going to add it as a custom tab and a YouTube link because I find that I will be able to do this a lot quicker. So video, and I'm going to add a link, which is this one here. And you can embed videos as well. So you can add images and then start to actually have an image which they can click on and it will send them to the video, or the video will, if it's embedded, then the video will play within the platform as well. So I'm going to save that tab here. And the final tab that I wanted to go through is a team tab. So one of the reasons why we think that this is an important tab to enable is because investors like to know and understand a little bit about the founders. The reason why they invest is, of course, your product is good, of course, your investment opportunity is good, but the belief in the founders and the trust that they gain is really important. So as well as having kind of your key team members here and uploading all that sort of information, they can actually directly contact you through the links that you post of your LinkedIn, but then equally using the custom tabs, one thing that we are starting to do increasingly is actually have a direct book your meeting tab. So within the same tabs and charts, I can actually, if I have access to Calendly, HubSpot, any kind of email sorting or email booking system that I might have elsewhere, I can actually create a tab that will say, book meeting, can have a picture of myself, and the investor, they can see that when they log into the deal and when they view the deal, they'll be able to see the book meeting tab. I've got an example of it in a moment, but straight away on the deal, so they can click into that and then contact you and book in a meeting with you straight away. So that is one of the things we do encourage our entrepreneurs to do. The other form of communication is a Q&A tab. So the Q&A tab, instead of booking a meeting, some people might just want to straight away ask a few questions. But if I enable this here, this opens up a portal in order for the investors to directly ask a question from the deal. So you can see here now a Q&A tab has been enabled. I can click into it and submit my questions. This, you as the entrepreneur, once the deal has been approved by University of Essex, and they've kind of delegated the investment management, which is something we're going to go over in our next session, you will be able to answer these directly as well. So I'm just going to close that here. Once I'm happy with all the deal information and the deal content, I can push for approval. This will then send a notification to the Essex team. They will review all of that, the information you've provided, the documentation, the custom tabs, and when they think that this is appropriate for investors to see, they will then publish the deal and you'll be notified that your deal has been published. John, at this point, would you like to add anything about the deal content before I move into investor?
Yes, I just wanted to add that what we have found over this extended period of working with investors and entrepreneurs is the wording is so important, that you get the wording right in those opening sentences, the deal name, the description with those limited word count, and the information that you portray at that very first point. Because you've got to remember that when an entrepreneur is looking at the platform, when an investor is looking at the platform, they only see that bite size to start with, and that's what's got to interest them. Think of it as your elevator pitch. You've got literally 30 seconds or less to be able to attract someone's interest. So don't get too technical. Don't tell them what they can already see. In other words, how much money you're looking for and what have you. That's already appearing there. So effectively, you can get this information directly to an investor straight away. And then put yourself in the investor's shoes. What kind of questions are they going to ask? Have you already addressed them somewhere in the documentation that they can easily find? So they're the things that I would like to share with you. Bhumi, over to you.
Perfect. So you can see here that this is kind of a deal that we've previously created with a range of the different custom tabs. And this is what I meant by you can have information in documentation, but for the investor to make it easier for them to get key information, building out your deal is vital. I just want to touch upon some of the investor interactions lightly in this session, but just to mention again that we will be going into a more detailed version of how the investor interacts with your opportunity in our next session. The one thing that I wanted to just quickly mention is transaction management. So transaction management, when a deal has been published and approved and published by University of Essex and is in the eyes of the investors, you will not be able to actually edit any of the information. You'll see that there's actually locks within this, and this is purely because we don't want to be changing information when it is being presented to the investors. I will show kind of in more detail when investors interact and how you can move them along into different steps, how you can release documentation to them. But you can see here that there's two kind of sections that my investors are split up in. One is highlighted and I can actually click on them and move them along. The other is kind of grayed out. What this top section represents is actually my cap table. So my investors, maybe my family and friends have invested, maybe I'm already speaking to investors who are not a part of the platform, but I want to keep a log of those investors and actually create a holistic view for me to keep up with where my investment is at. I can even actually go into documentation, add a specific folder for this specific investor, upload terms that I've agreed with them off platform, and bring it all into the platform. So it's really to actually allow you to come to a place where not only are you able to kind of get investors from the University of Essex engaging with your deal, but also for you to manage your deal in the same place. So as mentioned, I will be going through this in more details in our next section. But with the transaction management stage, when it comes to investors actually engaging from the platform, you'll be able to see who's engaged, who's requested for more information, and you'll actually be able to move them to different stages. And if I click onto these little I buttons here, I'm actually able to get the email address of those specific investors at whatever stage and actually contact them offline if they've not contacted you already. So the best kind of stage is when they've requested more information. Here, they've not indicated any investment amount, they just want to know more. This is kind of where you can get their email address to actually contact them. And you can see as I start to build out this transaction process here, I'll be able to get the updates and be able to say, you know, this is how much I've raised on platform, this is how much I've raised off platform, and so on. And it just really allows you to get the holistic view in one place. Final few things on transaction is I can edit any of this information. So for example, if you know, I did a round of family and friends and they actually wanted to invest more, I can click on kind of edit and change the investment value, withdraw the investment, and so on. When it comes to changing the platform ones, those University of Essex will be notified about these changes, but they can also manage this process as well.
Can I just stop you there, Bhumi, because we actually had a Q&A, which I think is relevant at this point, so I'll raise it. If an investor makes an inquiry, does the entrepreneur receive an email, or do they have to respond to that inquiry only on the platform?
So you don't have to, you will receive a on-platform notification. So you see here that they will receive specific, you know, this investor has inquired, and you'll be able to go into the deal and they will show up here, and then you can email them. I will have to double check if they do receive an email to tell you, but you will definitely get an on-platform notification to say that X investor has inquired on the deal or has requested for more information. You can communicate through the platform, but we know that you will probably be wanting to kind of have conversations and email them off platform as well. So yeah.
And how does the entrepreneur find the email address of the investor who's made an inquiry?
Sure. So when I initially got the notification to say that this investor has requested for more information, they will show up in this first stage here, which is initiate the investment process. If I click onto this little I button here, I can see the exact investor at this request for more information stage and their email address. So that's how I can find out who to contact and what email to use.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I want to end by just mentioning two things. One, building out your deal is important. If you require help, then University of Essex are always happy to help. They can actually log in, add some information with you. But it's just one thing, if the deal is published, what you will need to do is actually restart the workflow approval process. So this will take the deal away from the investors, put it back into a draft stage without the locks here, and then I will be able to go in and actually edit this information here. But sorry, I've just been logged out because I didn't touch anything. But if I wanted to actually edit that information, then I simply just need to pull that deal back into a draft state, make my changes. I can make notes against the changes that I've made, and then resubmit it for approval, and then it will get published again. So hopefully that showed how to kind of get the most information on the platform. I'm sure there's kind of like some criteria that University of Essex set in terms of the exact information that they require, but the initial stage will capture your structure of the deal, and then you can use the custom tabs, charts, videos, team tabs to really build out that deal and get your information out there in a clean way. Thank you, everybody. I just want to go back to John if there's any questions, or if there's anything else you want to add.
Certainly, Bhumi, thank you very much indeed. And please, if you have any questions, we actually have time to take these. I think it's very interesting to note that when investors are looking at the platform, as I said earlier, they only see a very short little piece of information. I'll just share my screen just to give you a flavor of the kind of things they can see. As you can see, it's a very short piece of information, but all the minimum investment, the funding sought, and how much money you've raised so far can be seen quite clearly on that initial screen. But remember, they don't just see 3, they might see a dozen, as they scroll down, because they can see more deals as they move on. So your deal, the imagery, the picture has got to tell a story. If your logo is very vibrant and eye-catching, that really helps. And the words that you use, the semantics, are so important. And we have found that, you know, putting a load of rubbish, which I have done here on this test one, it actually conjures up, okay, what's a load of rubbish? You've got to come up with something that's going to attract someone's interest very, very quickly indeed. And I think that's so important to remember that. You focus on your pitch deck and you focus on all the details in your pitch deck and how this thing's going to work and all your projections. But if I've got to wade through 15 pages to find that one piece of information that I'm looking for, how long will I spend going through the 15 pages? You as an entrepreneur are going to say, well, as a serious investor, you're going to read my entire package. No. As a serious investor, I want to get to the nitty-gritty as quickly as possible. I want to find the things that interest me. So investors invest in teams. So let's make your teams prominent. Let's make them stand out. Let's give them a bit of kudos and how important they are. Let's make sure that the financials are nice and easy to find so that you can view them quite instantly. Charts are very good for that, diagrams, rather than tables. Because let's face it, no one really wants to look at a financial table. I'm an accountant. I don't like looking at financial tables. I'd rather see trends where things are going. And let's face it, if you say you're going to turn over $1 million in the first year, they're probably going to say, well, $500,000 is probably more realistic. So they're going to halve your numbers anyway. So let's make all those kind of things realistic going forward. I see we've got a Q&A there. Are there any examples we can use to get an idea of what to include as we fill in? Well, certainly. We're more than happy to help you with that. We work on the basis that every single opportunity that goes on our platform is unique. That poses a problem for everybody in that you've got to view each one differently. So what works for one might not work for another. And we've got examples of that over the last 6 months alone, where, you know, someone's copied something and it just hasn't worked for them. So discuss it with us, talk to us. That's what we're here to do. The service is free, so make good use of it. I mean, it's not going to cost you any more by doing it this way. It's not going to cost you anything at all other than your time, and you're not wasting our time, believe you me. We're here to get the best deal possible onto the platform to encourage the right investors. Our investor numbers are growing daily. During the course of this webinar alone, we have signed up 2 more investors. So that gives you an idea of the momentum that is building here. So take your time to get your pitch deck. Take even more time to get the presentation proper. Think about consulting with marketing. Do you have a marketing team, or is that something that you aspire to have as part of your funding? But take professional advice whenever you can. Bounce it off people. Bounce the ideas off people. If someone sends me the blurb that they want to use and I read it and I don't like it, I'll be the first to tell you. Trust me, I will. And there are people out there who probably hate me at the moment because I've been rejecting things that I don't feel are appropriate in the way they can move forward. But that's my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. I know the investors that I'm dealing with. You may be dealing with other investors, and those investors might like what you've already put out, but they won't be the same investors that I'm dealing with. So therefore, you need to take that on board. Any more questions have we got?
I think just on that, John, as well, we do have guidance which we will share with you, which will outline the different steps and the different kind of things that you can put in each of the sections that Bhumi showed. And Bhumi, I'm not sure if you still have the demo site up there. It might be useful just to run through the built out deal a bit more on the gaming deal, just to show the preview if you've still got that up, because that might be useful for everyone on the call here just to see somewhat of an example.
Sure. Can everybody see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, certainly.
Fabulous. Just before I go back onto the fully built out deal, one thing that I do want to also mention is as the entrepreneur, you also have a section called Resource Library. Any webinars that we run, such as this one, or any videos that are created, or links to kind of example documentations that University of Essex team have built, can be found in this section here. So you'll be able to easily click onto the resource and get access to that from your platform directly. Going on to I think it might just quickly be easier for me to show the preview rather than logging in as an investor. If I just click here and click on preview here. So as Josh just mentioned, this information, obviously with the deal that I just uploaded, I added a custom tab, which was financial forecast and a background. But as John mentioned, each deal is unique. You want to be given the information to the investor, which pretty much no other opportunity has. Or what we really need to put ourselves into the shoes of investors and think about what information do they want to see quickly, rather than having to go through streams and streams of documentation, which they might do at a later stage. So you can see that they'll be able to see the summary, documentation as and when they go through the transaction process, which we'll go through in the next session. More documentation can be released to them. If there is any investor specific documentation, so if you have specific terms with investors, once they have interacted with your deal, we will then have kind of investor specific folders where you can upload those and request for e-signatures or wet ink signatures. And all of that is done through the platform. It's easy for the investors to actually upload it back to the platform, as well as you requesting information from them as well. So really do try to ask questions if you don't understand about certain parts of the functionality, but maximize it. And as John said, it is free. Any Q&As, if I just quickly go back out and go into investor interactions, I've enabled the Q&A. Once investors start to engage with my deal, me as the entrepreneur, I will be able to actually see these investor interactions and answer them. Just bear in mind, University of Essex do also see these questions as well. So if it's not something that you can answer, just ask them, and I'm sure they'll be able to get in touch with the investor. But having tabs such as the Q&A tab, having tabs as like the book meeting, which is if I go into custom tabs and charts, this is literally just an extra tab here, and just allows them to actually engage with you and communicate with you and contact you directly through the platform without the need of perhaps an email address and stuff like that. And if you want to find out more about kind of which calendars you can use to kind of integrate it within the platform, then feel free to again ask University of Essex, and I'm sure they have a few that you can use for free as well. So yeah.
I think that's the end of the Q&As. I was just going to say that despite everything I've said previously, we want you to use your own words. So please don't ask us to write it for you, because that's not the name of the game. It's your project, it's your opportunity, and we want you to succeed. We don't want us to succeed for you, if I can put it that way. So please feel free, ask the questions, ask for help. That's what we're here for. We will be running more of these, and we are running more specialist webinars. Tomorrow we're talking about the difference between VCs and angel investors, and which ones should you be aiming at. Again, it's a different language that you need to be talking when you're dealing with these. So I am going to say thank you to Bhumi Ladva and Delio for the presentation today. Thank you to Josh for manning the fort. And Josh, do you have a questionnaire for us, a poll?
I do, yes. Thanks, John. So just one final poll before we go then. And it'll be really interesting for us to learn from that. Do you feel more confident with your understanding of the Angels Essex platform after today's session? And it's yes, no, or I would like to know more. Brilliant, thanks everyone. So overwhelmingly, it looks like everyone does feel more confident. So thanks a lot for that, Bhumi. Really informative session. And as Bhumi mentioned, we will be putting this onto the resource library on the platform. So once you've signed up, you will be able to view this again on the platform.
Thank you, everybody. We will now stop the recording, and I wish you well, safe journeys if you have to make those journeys to the kitchen, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.